Hi, this is Kylie Koo. Welcome to my studio. So I recently did a review of a number of ARTEZA products, and one of the products was their set of 14 acrylic paints. Now I'll leave a link to that video above and below, but as part of the process of testing the paints out, I wanted to see how they would work on my gel plate, because I use gel plate a lot, and the way that paints work on that is an important thing for me. So I did show that very briefly in my review video, but what I'm going to do here is to show you that footage in a bit more detail. So I took the reverse side of my gel plate, which hasn't been used much in the past because I felt that it was cleaner and not contaminated with other paints. I've got three colours here: Scarlet Red, Burnt Umber and Burnt Sienna. I just thought these might look quite good together on the plate. So I'm just putting a little bit of that out, and I'm going to be using lots of different sorts of papers. Now these tubes are really good, quite flexible to squeeze the paint out, and I think longer term will be very useful because I think it will be possible to get all the paint out of them, whereas some tubes are much more difficult. So just using my brayer to blend those in and out a bit. I wanted to leave some of the colours still showing through. Now I have noticed that my gel plate does have a little bit of damage on this side for some reason. I don't know how that's happened, so you will see that the prints come up with some lines and little pit marks on it. I was just taking a piece of punchinella there just to get a little bit of interest. Now this is a piece of deli paper that I'm using, and there we go, lifted quite a nice print. This is now a piece of calligraphy paper, and again quite a nice print. You can see, as I say, the kind of little marks on my gel plate. Kind of annoying, I just don't know what's happened to it, but there we go, I've had it a long time. So, going to look now at some different colours. So this time I'm using the Phthalo blue and the Phthalo green, and I think these are going to become two of my favourite colours from the set. So again, just doing something similar, just going to use the brayer and brayer them out on the pad. This time keeping it a little bit more distinct between the two, but blending them a bit more where they match. This was a piece of tissue paper, and I really like the way that's come out. Now I was putting them on quite thin, which is exactly what I wanted, because I wanted to create some collage pieces for the bigger piece that I was creating. So this time I'm taking a little of the gold, cleaning off the brayer, but I don't clean it off completely, so there will be bits and pieces of the other colours of the paint, and of course I've not cleaned off the plate. And I'm spreading the gold out into a very thin layer. And this time I'm taking a piece of, this is greaseproof paper, which is a bit like deli paper, and just really trying to lift everything up off the plate at this time, and I get a reasonable amount up there. So the gold has actually acted in a way that helps lift the paint that had almost dried underneath. Because I was just applying thin layers, it was drying really quite quickly. So this time taking the gold again, and again I think this is going to become one of my favourites, and I'm just going to put another thin layer, just little bits and pieces coming off my brayer there from older paint. I'm going to take that piece and just try and lift some of the gold and whatever else is left on the plate onto that. And that started to create some nice interest. So those kind of base layers which were kind of browns and reds, now introducing those little bits of green and blue and the gold as the top layer. And interesting, the pattern that came off on that one. And of course, for me, this is the fun about the gel plate. You never quite know what you're going to get. Now, this time I'm taking the lemon yellow and also the crimson red, and I'm going to look to blend the two of these together. Now, because I hadn't cleaned off my plate, there was still some of those kind of greens, the phthalo green, phthalo blue sitting on it. So the lemon yellow did actually start to take on a bit of a green colour, almost a kind of acid green colour. And that's one of the things I like about these paints, is the fact that you can kind of blend them out. So my crimson red, quite dominating there, but that's good because I was trying to create a bit of an orange by mixing the red and the yellow. And I've just taken a cardboard tube there. All I'm doing is just trying to create a bit of interest there. This is simply a sheet of printer paper, normal computer paper, just to see how it does. And getting a whole lot of different colours there. It's really picking up still some of those colours in the background, as well as the ones that I've just applied, and that's actually lifted quite a bit off my palette, off my plate. This time I'm using ultramarine blue and the pale green. I was really looking to test all of these paints and to look at the different combinations between the two. So just trying to get some of the kind of reds and browns off my brayer there, and then starting to brayer out the green and the blue and looking to blend them a little bit. The green was very bright, but by blending the blue in, it just calmed it slightly. So again, I have a piece of deli paper here, and I do like the colours there, and I think they will go well with my phthalo green and the phthalo blue. Again, just printing on top of the piece of this. This was the calligraphy paper. I slightly tore a little bit there. It's very thin paper, but again, just building up layers of interest on those. These will all become collage pieces, not all to be used this time, but over time. So this is me back to the phthalo blue and the phthalo green. So I'm using the phthalo green and the phthalo blue again, and there's still elements of the pale green on there. And again, I'm going to take a piece of deli paper and pick up some of that. Now, though I had already tried these colours, what I wanted to do this time was something slightly different with it. So just smoothing out what was left on the plate. And again, just taking off what I can from the brayer. And this time I'm going to take the silver. And again, I'm going to put a thin layer of this right across my gel plate. Just putting a little on. So if you're using the paints in this way, a little will go a long way. Now the paint underneath wasn't entirely dry, so you will see that it is blending a little bit there. But I felt it was making quite a nice colour. And again, just using the cardboard tube just to get a little bit of interest on it, and a little bit with the punchinella as well. And I'm going to take that same piece, I'm taking a fresh piece. This is the calligraphy paper again. And again, I'm just going to pull that up. And I do like the colours on that. You can see that the silver is giving it a bit of a kind of shine. So this time taking the gold again, just smoothing out what's left on the plate, taking the excess off my brayer, So taking the gold again, getting a nice thin layer. This is a piece of the kind of waxed paper, the greaseproof paper, and I'm smoothing that down quite a bit because there's not a lot of paint on the plate, and again that's pulled up quite nicely. All I'm going to do now is to use a little bit of black that I had left from earlier when I was working on my mixed media piece, and I am going to put up another video showing each of the steps through that, but that time that was just the little bits of Mars black that I had left, and all I'm going to do now is to use that piece to try and pick some of that up. And this really just was a way to kind of use up paint that was left over. Some thicker bits on the plate there, so just smoothing them out a bit. Back to the gold again. So as I said, I think the gold is going to become one of my favourites. It's a nice way of kind of, for gel plate printing, it's a nice way to kind of break up colours and give a little bit of a shimmer to it. So just doing this bit over a piece that I'd already done and pulling that, and again getting some bits and pieces up there. By this point the paint on the plate was very dry. Taking the silver, similar process. As I say, never quite sure what you're going to get when you're mono printing like this. Smoothing it out, and you can see there that it has picked up the silver, and that's kind of muted some of the black, just pushed it into the background a bit. Ideal for mixed media. And just taking that bit and trying to pick up any excess paint around the edges. I hate for anything to be kind of wasted. So ARTEZA has given me a discount code for anyone that's interested in buying any of their products, and I'll list full details of that down below. And I'm just going to do a quick flick through of the pages that I've worked on. That was the runoff sheet, and that will also be used for collage. I did like the way that those kind of browns, the umbers and that played and sat underneath the golds. So areas of interest in these, they won't all be used as single pieces, but I'll take pieces of these out, and I was very much looking to create some translucent pieces that I could use in my mixed media pieces that you see just to the left of the screen there. And I do go on to use, I think it's that piece, and I think a part of that piece and one of the others, but as I say, I'll put that up as a separate video. So this wasn't a tutorial, it was just very much about testing out those paints as part of my review process, testing them out on the gel plate. So I hope you found it useful. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.